Look at a kitchen trash can. Vegetable scraps, root ends, wilted stems. Most people see waste, something to throw away. But a smart gardener sees something completely different, a second harvest. Because the biggest lie we are told about gardening is simple. Once you harvest a plant, it's over. Pull it out, start again. Buy more seeds, repeat every season. But that's not how some crops work. Some vegetables are designed to keep giving. You cut them, and they come back. You harvest again, and they grow again. Some regrow in days. Others keep feeding the same family for years. And once you realize how many foods can do this, gardening stops feeling like work. It starts feeling like a system. Today, we're counting down 15 vegetables that regrow after harvest. Some can regrow from kitchen scraps. Some survive winter and return stronger. And number 4 may upset traditional gardeners, because most people pull it out when they should leave it forever. While number 1 is so strange, many people think it's fake the first time they see it. At number 15, we have green onion. This may be the easiest regrowing food on the entire list, and that's exactly why it surprises so many people. Buy green onions from the store, cut off the white root end, place it in water or soil, and within days, new growth appears. Same roots, same plant. Fresh harvest again. That moment changes how people see food waste. Because something that was headed for the trash suddenly starts producing food again. Another reason green onions are powerful is frequency. They are used constantly. Soups, eggs, rice, stir-fry, noodles. That means even a small regrowing setup can save repeated grocery trips. But the deeper lesson is psychological. Green onions show that food can be restarted from what people throw away. And once that idea clicks, the entire kitchen starts looking different. Every scrap becomes potential. Every root becomes a possibility. One sunny windowsill can quietly keep producing fresh greens all season. The plant is simple, but the idea behind it changes how people think about food. At number 14, we have lettuce. Most people harvest lettuce the wrong way. They wait until the whole head forms, cut everything, and throw the plant away. But lettuce was never meant to be used only once. If you remove the outer leaves and leave the center intact, it keeps producing. That method is called cut and come again, and it transforms one small planting into weeks of food. Another reason this matters is speed. Lettuce regrows fast enough that people can see results quickly. That creates momentum. A few cuts become repeated salads, sandwich greens, fresh wraps. It turns a container into a mini food supply. But what makes lettuce powerful during uncertain times is freshness. Greens are often the first grocery items to disappear during supply issues because they spoil quickly. Homegrown lettuce removes that dependence. fresh food becomes available whenever you need it. And because it works in containers, balconies, patios, and raised beds, almost anyone can do it. One plant, many harvests. Almost no one realizes how much food they waste by pulling it too early. At number 13, we have cilantro. Cilantro is one of the most divisive plants in the kitchen. People either love it or hate it. But in the garden, it's surprisingly useful because it can regrow repeatedly if harvested correctly. Most people cut the entire plant and remove it. But if you harvest the outer stems and leave the center, it continues producing. Another reason it matters is value. Store-bought cilantro spoils fast. You buy it, use a little, and much of it goes bad. That makes regrowing especially practical. A single container can provide fresh flavor over and over again. But there's another advantage. If allowed to flower, cilantro creates coriander seed. That means one plant can provide fresh leaves, edible flowers, and spice seed. Multiple harvests from one cycle. That makes it far more valuable than people expect. It's one of those plants that rewards patience. Cut it correctly, and it keeps giving. Let it mature, and it changes again. The same plant keeps producing different food depending on when you harvest. At number 12, we have spinach. Spinach is often treated like a single-use crop, but that misses its real strength. Harvesting the outer leaves while protecting the crown allows the plant to continue producing for weeks. That means repeated harvest from the same roots. Another reason spinach matters is nutrition. During times when food variety shrinks, nutrient-dense greens become far more important. Spinach delivers vitamins, minerals, and quick, fresh harvest from small spaces. It also performs well in cooler temperatures, which extends the growing season before summer crops take over. But the real advantage is rhythm. Spinach grows quickly enough that repeated cutting feels natural. A few leaves today, more next week, more after that. That consistency matters. It changes gardening from occasional work into an ongoing supply. And when people realize the same roots can keep feeding them without replanting, they begin to understand something bigger. Some gardens are designed for one harvest. Others are designed to keep working long after the first cut. At number 11, we have Swiss chard. Some plants earn attention because they look impressive. Others earn respect because they refuse to stop growing. Swiss chard belongs in the second category. It's one of the most dependable cut-and-come-again crops in the garden. Harvest the outer leaves, and the center keeps pushing out new growth. That cycle can continue for months. Another reason it matters is toughness. Heat that causes lettuce to bolt often barely slows Swiss chard. Cool nights that weaken summer vegetables rarely stop it either. It spans seasons better than most people expect. That makes it especially valuable for households that want consistency instead of short bursts of harvest. And unlike smaller greens, Swiss chard produces large leaves. One cutting feels substantial, enough to cook, enough to add to soups, enough to stretch a meal. The stems are edible too, which means very little goes to waste. But what makes Swiss chard stand out is reliability. When some plants fail, Swiss chard often keeps going, quietly, repeatedly. It's the kind of crop that doesn't look dramatic in spring, but by the end of the season, it's often the one still feeding you when others are gone. At number 10, we have kale. The biggest mistake people make with kale is treating it like lettuce. They cut too much, too fast, and wonder why the plant struggles. But kale is a long-term producer when harvested correctly. Remove the outer leaves and leave the growing center untouched. It keeps building upward, creating fresh leaves over and over again. Some plants can continue producing for many months from a single planting. Another reason kale is so powerful is temperature. It survives conditions that end many gardens. Frost, cold rain, even light snow. In some regions, it keeps growing when everything else has already died back. That changes how useful it becomes. It's not just another green. It's a bridge between seasons. And because the flavor often improves after frost, it can become even better late in the year. Another advantage is nutrition. In times when fresh food becomes harder to find, kale provides serious nutritional value from a small footprint. The same roots keep delivering again and again. One plant may not look like much in May, but by November, when most crops are gone and kale is still standing, people understand why experienced growers never underestimated. At number 9, we have bok choy. This is one of those crops many people overlook simply because they don't realize how flexible it is. Bok choy can be harvested young, mature, or repeatedly depending on how you cut it. If you remove the outer leaves, the center continues growing. If you cut the base carefully, some varieties can regrow from the same crown. That means one plant can keep feeding you longer than expected. Another reason bok choy matters is speed. It grows fast. That creates visible progress quickly, which keeps people motivated. And because it works in containers, raised beds, or compact spaces, it fits almost any home setup. But there's another layer. Bok choy handles cooler weather better than many warm-season crops, which makes it valuable during seasonal transitions. Fresh stir-fries, soups, sautéed greens, all from the same roots. It's not usually the first crop people think of for repeated harvest. But once they try it, many realize they were harvesting it the wrong way all along. And that's a common theme in gardening. Sometimes the plant was never the problem. The harvest method was. At number 8, we have celery. If there's one kitchen scrap that surprises people the most, it may be celery. Cut off the base, place it in shallow water, and within days, new leaves begin emerging from the center. What looked like waste suddenly starts growing again. That alone makes it fascinating, but the real value is what it teaches. Because celery shows that the end of a harvest is often not the end of the plant. Another reason it belongs here is versatility. Celery is used in soups, stocks, salads, sauces, and countless everyday meals. Having it regrow at home turns scraps into convenience. But unlike some fast regrow demonstrations online, celery rewards patience. It starts slowly, then gradually builds into a larger plant when transferred into soil. That process reveals something important. Regrowing is not magic. It's biology. The roots and crown are still alive, waiting for conditions to return. Once they do, the plant resumes. That's why celery is such a powerful example. It turns a kitchen habit into a gardening lesson. And after watching celery regrow from what used to be trash, many people never throw the base away again. At number 7, we have leek. Most people think of leeks as a one-time harvest. Pull them out, trim them, cook them, and that's the end. But the base tells a different story. If the root end is left intact and replanted, leeks often begin growing again. Slowly at first, then steadily. That makes them one of the most underrated regrowing vegetables in the garden. Another reason leeks matter is patience. They don't regrow overnight like green onions, and that's exactly why many people quit too soon. But those who wait discover something useful. The same root system can continue producing new shoots that eventually become another harvest. And because leeks add depth to soups, roasted dishes, and stocks, they're more valuable than many people realize. In difficult times, flavorful ingredients matter because they make basic meals feel complete. But the deeper lesson is this: some of the best regrowing crops are not dramatic at first. They reward the people who understand delayed return. Leeks teach that lesson perfectly. The part most households throw away can quietly become the next harvest. And once that idea sinks in, a grocery trip starts looking less like shopping and more like collecting planting material. At number 6, we have asparagus. This is where regrowing stops being a trick and becomes a long-term system. Because asparagus is not just something that regrows once. It comes back every single year. Same roots, same bed, new harvest. That changes everything. The trade-off is patience. Asparagus takes time to establish, and many people avoid it because they want faster results. But once mature, it can produce for a decade or more. Some beds continue far longer. Another reason asparagus matters is timing. It arrives in early spring when many gardens are barely waking up. That means fresh food before most crops are even planted. And because it returns without needing replanting, it becomes one of the most reliable producers in the garden. This is why experienced growers often treat asparagus as an investment. It's not planted for this month. It's planted for years. One decision keeps paying back. And in a world where most food systems depend on constant buying, a plant that returns every spring without being asked becomes something far more valuable than a vegetable. It becomes infrastructure. At number 5, we have sorrel. Most people in America have never grown sorrel, which is exactly why it surprises so many first-time gardeners. Once established, sorrel behaves like it has no intention of leaving. Harvest the leaves, and more appear. Leave the roots alone, and it often returns year after year. That makes it one of the easiest perennial greens to keep harvesting from the same plant. Another reason sorrel matters is timing. It often wakes up very early in the season, producing leaves when many other crops are still dormant. That means food from the garden before most people think the season has even started. The flavor is bright, slightly lemony, and unlike most common greens. That makes it valuable not just as food, but as variety. During repetitive seasons of eating, variety keeps meals sustainable. But the real surprise is how little care it needs once established. Sorrel teaches a simple lesson. Some plants are not meant to be restarted every year. They are meant to stay. The roots remain, and the harvest returns almost on its own. That kind of crop changes how people think about effort. Less planting, more harvesting. At number 4, we have rhubarb. This is the controversial one. Because many people grow rhubarb like it's a seasonal novelty, harvest it once, enjoy a pie, and forget about it. But the truth is, rhubarb is one of the longest-term producers in a home garden. Once established, the same crown can return year after year for decades. Some family gardens are still harvesting from plants older than the people eating them. That alone makes it remarkable. Another reason rhubarb matters is consistency. It often emerges early in spring, producing before many warm season crops are even planted. That early harvest becomes valuable when fresh food is limited. But there's another reason I placed it here. Rhubarb forces people to think differently about time. Most annual vegetables demand restarting. Rhubarb demands patience once, then rewards that decision for years. The same roots keep building harvest after harvest. And because it becomes a permanent part of the landscape, it turns a garden into something more stable. A food source that survives seasons, neglect, and changing routines. Many people pull out plants too soon. Rhubarb teaches the opposite. Leave the roots. Let time work for you. At number 3, we have mint. If there's one plant that teaches the true meaning of regrowth, it's mint. Because once established, many gardeners spend more time trying to control it than trying to grow it. Cut it back, and it returns. Pull stems, and new shoots appear. Leave roots in the soil, and it spreads in directions you didn't expect. That persistence makes it incredibly useful. Fresh tea, seasoning, sauces, salads, mint keeps producing far beyond what one small planting suggests. Another reason it matters is resilience. It tolerates neglect surprisingly well. Miss a watering, forget to harvest for a while, let the stems die back, and the roots often continue anyway. That's rare. Most plants punish neglect. Mint often ignores it. But what makes mint valuable is not just abundance, it's predictability. When the weather shifts, when routines get busy, when other plants struggle, mint often keeps returning. And that teaches a powerful lesson. Some crops are not about one perfect season. They are about staying in your system year after year. Once the roots are there, the harvest becomes almost inevitable. That's why experienced growers often plant mint in containers. Not to help it grow, but to keep it from taking over everything around it. A plant that hard to stop deserves respect. At number 2, we have Jerusalem artichoke. Skip to the end if you want, but don't skip this one. Because this plant doesn't just regrow. It often multiplies without permission. Plant a few tubers, harvest most of them, and if even a small piece remains underground, there's a good chance it returns next season. That makes it one of the most persistent food crops you can grow. Another reason it matters is where it stores food, underground. The garden itself becomes the pantry. You don't need to harvest everything at once. Tubers can stay in the soil and be dug when needed. That changes how storage works. It keeps food alive until the day you want it. Another reason it stands out is resilience. It handles cold, survives neglect, and often grows taller and stronger each year. Many gardeners plant it once and spend years managing it after that. That's not failure. That's proof of how determined the plant is. In a world where most vegetables require planning, seed ordering, timing, and repeated labor, Jerusalem artichokes operate differently. Plant once, disturb the roots, and they often keep coming back whether you planned for it or not. And finally, number 1, walking onion. This may be one of the strangest food plants most people have never seen. It's called a walking onion because it appears to move. The plant grows normally at first, but instead of only producing underground bulbs, it creates clusters of baby onions at the top of the stalk. As those become heavier, the stalk bends. The top touches the ground. The baby bulbs root where they land, and a new plant begins. That's how it walks across a garden. One plant slowly creates the next generation by moving itself. That makes it one of the most extraordinary regrowing crops for any family. Another reason it matters is reliability. You harvest the bulbs below, you harvest the top sets above, and still the plant often returns. It keeps multiplying with minimal help. Some gardeners maintain the same patch for decades. The onions simply keep expanding. That is why I saved it for number 1, because it completely changes what people expect from food. Most crops need us to continue planting them. Walking onions begin planting themselves. The harvest continues, the patch expands, and over time, the original planting becomes almost impossible to trace. That is not just regrowth, that is self-propagation. And once people see it, they understand why older generations treated certain crops almost like inheritance. What all 15 reveal is something most people never notice. We are taught to think food ends at harvest. Pull the plant, throw away the scraps, start over next season. But nature often works differently. Roots remain alive. Crowns keep growing. Shoots return from what looked finished. The harvest is not always the end. Sometimes it's only the first cut. And once you build a garden around crops like that, everything changes. Effort drops. Harvest increases. Waste disappears. One bed becomes multiple seasons. One plant becomes years. The smartest gardeners are not always the ones planting more. Often, they're the ones learning which plants refuse to stop. Because once food starts coming back on its own, the garden stops being a project. It becomes something much more powerful. A system that keeps feeding you long after the first harvest is gone.